In today's video, we're going to talk about paradigms and belief systems. The premise of this discussion is really based on this quote from James Allen, which is from As a Man Thinketh. And we're going to discuss this quote into deeper detail because it holds the key for paradigm change, paradigm being a collection of beliefs. By changing the paradigm, we rearrange the mind in a way that is reflected, automatic as far as behaviors go, capabilities go, environments go, or with less resistance. Our goal is to remove resistance from the journey. James Allen says, a particular train of thought persisted in, be it good or bad, cannot fail to produce its results on the character and circumstances. A man cannot directly choose his circumstances, but he can choose his thoughts, and so indirectly yet surely shape his circumstances. So when we reflect upon this, we say a particular train of thought. Particular train of thought. If we can take one particular train of thought, be it the most empowering form of train of thought, and persist in that train of thought, then what we will notice is a higher degree of empowerment within ourselves, as well as we represent ourselves, the character, from that particular train of thought. And what we'll also find is we'll represent others. Now, this is not only something that we've been discussing, but this is something we're going to further discuss because this is what is creating our experience, how we believe reality to work, our paradigm. So when we look at paradigm, we can define it as a philosophical or a theoretical framework of any kind that represents how you experience reality. Now, we may meet others that share the same paradigm. We may meet others who have different paradigms. Their paradigms or their belief systems will be reflective of their behaviors and how they experience reality and what they bring forth in reality. So studying this in ourselves is very important, and I also recommend studying it in others. Study the paradigms. One of the most empowering paradigms that we can have is this one right here. It's that you are blessed to be the molder and student of your own reality. Again, reflected upon the quote, he says, but he can choose his thoughts and so indirectly yet surely shape his circumstances. So then we can end up molding our circumstances to be in our favor, or reflect upon the circumstance in a way that we recognize it's in our favor. Think about a time where maybe you got a really nice haircut, or you were dressed a certain way, and you looked at yourself in the mirror, and you were really appreciative, or you had a lot of gratitude, a lot of joy for what you saw. For whatever the reason may be, you associated the haircut or the clothes to this feeling. Right away from there, you may had some related thoughts, such as, now I'm going to go call up some friends and hang out. We're going to go out. We're going to go do this. We're going to do that. And you felt a higher degree of confidence. Now, that was a result of a reflection in the mirror. You saw something, and then there was an association. The association was the article of clothes or the hairstyle equals more confidence or more people wanting to be around me. Now, while this reflects the actual experience, we also have the ability to, regardless of the clothes or the haircut, still have these sensations. In other words, to look at circumstance or the outer world, which reflects the mirror, the screen of space, from a place of inspiration and revelation. Inspiration, as in what I'm looking at here in relation to myself, is further verifying and confirming I am the person in relation to my vision right now. And if we don't see this, we can change our beliefs around. Now, as we change our beliefs around, the paradigm changes. So thus, we can look at paradigm change, reflections of the future, how we want to see ourselves, realized in the now, the present moment, because all that exists is the present moment. And it's the repetition of the same information from different perspectives that changes our paradigm. So you look at yourself in the mirror and you feel confidence. You walk down the street and someone makes a comment about your appearance and you feel confidence. You close the business deal and you bring forth a higher degree of income that transcends your past income level. You feel confidence. Many would feel confidence in those circumstances. Our goal is to feel confidence in just about any circumstance that shows up. And that is done by persisting in the thought that you are the molder and student of your own reality. So thus, reality is both revealing, as in how to change your belief within, or what is the accurate belief in relation to your vision, in relation to your self-image, and it's both inspirational, as in it is inspiring you to do more, be more, live more, and experience more based on the meaning you are associating on what you are experiencing. Essentially, what we're doing is moving from external locus of control, believing the power is in the outer world, over to internal locus of control, believing that the power is in your inner world. And the power is within you, the conscious you, the subconscious you, and the subconscious realm that dwells within the subconscious. Let's say we're having a conversation with somebody and we listen to them and we are inspired by them, and then we realize that what they're saying is actually that the power is within ourselves. So in a way, it appears we're giving the power to them to reveal what's within ourselves. So it's not to say that the books that you're reading or the information you're consuming or the people that you're interacting with cannot empower you. However, you still are interpreting what they're saying from within. Now, they might be very good at communication and be able to understand how to inspire you, how to reveal what is within you in a way that helps you ascend into a further affirmation of how you truly want to be. Thus, the repetition of the same information from different perspectives. Reading the same kind of books that say the same things from different perspectives. Watching the same kind of videos that say the same things from different perspectives, that affirm the same thing, that you are the molder and student of your own reality, as well as communication with others that affirms and says the same thing from different perspectives. This is one of the benefits of having a mastermind, a group of individuals that you connect with on a regular basis that pretty much have the same conversational thread going towards the definite chief aim, towards the core objective. But every time you show up to the conversations and you participate in the conversations, you're noticing a higher degree of inspiration and revelation. Now let's go a little deeper into this. So our goal, our day-to-day journey, and for me it's what I do in my morning routine, my work day, and my end of day. What I'm looking to do is be in certain experiences or interpret the circumstances in a way that inspires me to a higher level of affirmation and confirmation and conviction that all is in harmony and related to what I desire to experience. I also observe the kind of meaning that I'm giving to whatever shows up and understand it more so based on how I feel. Simply put, do I feel internal locus of control or external locus of control in relation to whatever shows up? In other words, if someone says something, or you have a certain circumstance, or you consume certain information, do you feel more empowered by it? Or do you feel less empowered by it? Now, if you feel less empowered by it, this is grounds for cause and effect reflection. It is to say then that there's something within ourselves that we're associating as far as meaning goes, belief within, and we're relating it to this particular experience in which we interpret it as disempowering. So we write it down. We take a note of it. and we reflect upon it. End of day, during the day, with somebody else who is very good at helping you identify what these limiting beliefs are. And what we're going to discuss here is essentially how to do it yourself. So here are some questions you want to ask yourself. We'll combine this with past, future, and now. When did you learn this? So much of our limiting beliefs come from our past, from earlier experiences in our life. I had one client a while back where I did an interesting process. I went through an interesting process with him in regards to helping him evolve past his beliefs surrounding selling. He had a very valuable consulting service. Now, he had, however, disempowering programming, limiting beliefs about himself in relation to sales, so he wasn't able to ask for money. So we booked a session and we sat down and I said to him, let's try something. Let us do this. I would like you to sell me on your service, and I will sell you on whatever I believe is valuable for you. Or you can sell me on whatever you believe is valuable for me. And what we're going to do is we're going to play with real money here. So if it's really of value, then I'm going to buy it. Whatever it is you propose to me, I'm going to buy it. If I believe it's valuable, if I believe it's valuable, I'm going to buy it. And you could do the same if you want. If you believe whatever it is I'm offering or suggesting is valuable, then you can consider it. And he said, let's do it. So we went through a conversation. Typical consultative selling process-based conversation. You identify the pains, the needs, the desires, the frustrations, what they're interested in. You really understand them. We went back and forth. And I asked him questions. And then from there, I determined that he needed a video projector for part of what he was going to do as far as his consulting. And I had an extra one, so I sold it to him. And we continued the conversation, and he didn't even think twice about what just happened. He just continued looking for how he could sell me on a product or service. And I said, do you realize what happened there? And he said, what? I said, I just sold you the projector. And he said, well, that's because I needed it anyways. And I said, that is how we want to look at sales. They need it anyways. And from there, we identified the limiting beliefs. He believed, for whatever the reason may be, that even though he knew the consulting service was valuable, he had a belief that other people would not recognize that value in him. We found it. So we had a conversation. Where did you learn this from your past? And it turns out he was around a lot of people growing up that would demean his value. So what that did was create certain limiting beliefs regarding value. The limiting belief was essentially that even though he has the value and he knows he has the value, he doesn't believe that he can receive fair compensation for the value. Through the demonstration that I did with him, I mentioned to them that really what's going on in sales is fair exchange of value. Your value for the other person's value, and their value being money. And it could be barter, it could be anything else, but it's a fair exchange of value. And we're wired for fair exchange of value. And if we believe that we not only have the value, but we want to bring the value to the other person and exchange fair value, then what happens is we automatically communicate and we are self-persuaded also in a way that facilitates that buying decision. You'll know what to say, how to say, when to say. He actually introduced me to another friend who started a business. And right away from the beginning, he was able to bring in right from the beginning of his business, and it was like a trades business, $10,000 a month. So I asked him about his friend, and I was interested in his psychology. And it turns out that his friend also had that same belief system. He knew that the trade or the service that he was offering was a mixture of product and service, was valuable. And he knew that many could benefit from that. So he went door to door and knocked on doors offering this particular product/service combination. And he did it without even questioning it, just like that. He never had a coach, never had a consultant. It was so intuitive to him because he was governed by that belief. So what we want to do is we want to question where we have learned these beliefs that we have from our past and recognize that even though it may or may not have been true in those times, it's not true in this particular moment. So we ask ourselves the next question: what experiences in the future would change this belief? In other words, how would you see yourself behaving, or what kind of experience can you have? In this case, I simulated the experience by actually showing it, demonstrating it to him. And that is one way of doing the consulting process, through demonstration. Another way is to articulate in imagination. So if you notice here, I put imagination/environment or plus environment. I did it through the environment. In other words, I gave him the experience. And what we could also do is work with the imagination. We would say, imagine this scenario. A person shows up and they're ready to receive this value. And they believe in fair compensation. Do you believe in fair compensation? He will say yes. Or if he doesn't say, yes, I believe in fair compensation, we have a conversation about that and we start to further unravel his beliefs. And once we get to a place where he believes in fair compensation, or he understands the value of fair compensation, we say, imagine the person showed up and they're ready to receive your value, and you provide them the product or service, they pay you with fair compensation, and they go on to receive the benefit, which further enhances their lives. Not only does it enhance their life, but it enhances the lives of their family, their friends, their loved ones, and their life continues to improve as a result of the value that you provided. And then you would ask the question, how does that make you feel? And he would imagine that in his mind's eye, and they would feel fulfilled, joyous, harmonious. That feeling right there is indication that we are disassociating from the limiting belief. And we can do this with ourselves as well by asking these questions. Now, another question we can ask is, how do you know this is still true? So again, the three questions: where did you learn this? So we can identify where it was in the past and recognize that it may or may not be true in the past, depending on what the belief was, but it might not be true now. And what experience in the future would change this belief? In other words, articulate the experience in their imagination or demonstrate the experience to change the belief, so they have new reference. Again, this is repetition of the same information from different perspectives. So when we're working with others or we're working with ourselves, we're finding different examples. So that's why writing down the limiting beliefs that show up and working with the limiting beliefs by questioning it on a regular basis will eventually disassociate ourselves from that belief. And when we disassociate ourselves with enough beliefs, or disassociate ourselves with a core belief, a deep belief, such as the value is not fairly exchanged, we'll notice that the paradigm will change. We'll start behaving different. We'll start talking different. We'll start acting different. We'll start being more in harmony and in relation with our vision. So again, we're moving from external locus of control to internal locus of control. So external locus of control would be, I'm afraid to ask for the sale because they're going to reject me, or I'm not good enough. That is a form of external locus of control. You could say giving the power, but it's more of reassigning the meaning within to the assumption that the power is in the outer world. To realigning that with, I've got the value, they want the value, that's a true belief. And as a result of it, they're excited to hear about what I have to offer, and I make the offer. These questions help us identify and disassociate from limiting beliefs. Let's talk about associating with new beliefs. So how do you find out new beliefs? So again, you can have a conversation with somebody, you can study information, you could read certain books, such as this particular quote here. Again, a particular train of thought persisted in, be it good or bad, cannot fail to produce its results on the character and circumstances. So we pick a higher level thought, such as you are blessed to be the molder and student of your own reality. Everything is teaching you about yourself in relation to your vision and so forth. inspirational and revelational, as well as you are the one who is interpreting the experience and thus can mold it by meditating and further reflecting upon and integrating the particular thought in relation to your vision. In his case, it was value exchange. Now, what ended up happening with him is after that experience and through the repetition of actually moving forward with the sales, he built a very substantial consulting business and still runs it till this day. And we had this conversation back in, I believe it was 2013. And it was that thing, that one limiting belief within himself that prevented him from asking for the sales, performing the marketing, and doing all these things because he had so many limiting beliefs that were identified with that core belief that he had the value. He already knew he had the value, but for whatever reason may be from his past, and we had identified it, he was believing that his value was not going to be fairly exchanged. And others would not receive that value and have this desire to compensate him for that value exchange. As a result of changing it, many sub-disempowering beliefs dissolve themselves. So here are some ways to associate with new beliefs. How is it related to my vision? So if the goal is to bring forth the vision, for in this case was for him to bring forth a certain level of business success, we talked about how sales was a facilitator of that success. And we identified that if he had a certain view or certain belief about reality and himself and others, that was a facilitator for that particular end result, bringing forth the vision. So we kept associating it to the vision because in the conversation, as we're discussing it, I remember always relating, and so what we always want to do is relate it back to our vision. How so? How will this behavioral change relate to our vision? How will this interpretation that we are associating with, the belief we're associating with, relate to the vision? And then you can turn them into affirmations, and a good affirmation that you could use for something that he was experiencing was, I realize more and more so each day that all people understand the meaning of the value within me. I realize it more so each day. As a result, I find myself automatically having the desire to share the value with others and receive fair compensation in exchange. As a result, I notice that people are happy and enjoy the benefits of the products and services that I offer. As this continues to increase, I notice that it's easier to find more prospects, more clients, more opportunities to bring forth even more business because my joy, my happiness, and my love is in service to others via the fair exchange of my value for theirs. The next would be the I am. How is it harmoniously related to your identity? Because we're working with vision and we're working with paradigm. So having a vision and changing the concept of ourself in relation to the vision. As mentioned, one of the things that I do is daily identify whatever association I have to whatever shows up, morning, work day, at the end of the day. And as you go through this journey, you write down these beliefs and you change them accordingly. Now, how is it harmoniously related to the identity? What would it look like if you were that person that is already producing that result? And as mentioned earlier with that example of looking in the mirror, would you like to be the person that when you look in the mirror, all you see is inspiration? All you see is self-confidence, self-esteem to the degree where you are inspired from what you see, the associations, which also helps us realize of how looking in the mirror and seeing ourselves that way brings us into an ideal state of mind. We've been talking about ideal state of mind. And from going into that ideal state of mind, certain related thoughts begin to flow. As in the person got a haircut and they associate the haircut to a higher level of self-confidence. And then what ends up happening is they get all these ideas. They want to go out with friends. They want to do this. They want to do that. And all those things that they want to do is stimulated as a result of that state of mind, which was stimulated as a result of their association to haircut. However, it doesn't have to be about the haircut. As we find these limiting beliefs in ourselves and change the associations, what we'll find is regardless of how we look at ourselves in the mirror or regardless of how we carry ourselves, we're going to automatically be inspired, more and more so, to bring forth a higher degree of inspiration. So in my videos, I'll speak a lot about looking at this outer world from a place of resourcefulness and opportunity, essentially transmuting obstacle into opportunity. This is done from state of mind, rearrangement of the mind. Now, as we change these beliefs around, which again is the repetition of the same information, so we're looking for the beliefs that we have about ourselves in relation to whatever shows up on circumstance, and we're changing them from different perspectives. For example, you may identify that you don't feel that fair value exchange is a thing as far as business goes. You may also identify that fair value in exchange doesn't exist in relationships, friendships, and so forth. As you change the beliefs around those areas, your paradigm changes regarding fair value of exchange as a whole. So that's why cause and effect reflection is so important, and noting down these limiting beliefs and then changing them. So how is it harmoniously related to my identity? What would it look like if it was true, if you were already that person living that end result right now? As you reflect upon who that person is, you could see how they behave, how they talk, how they think. You can find that all in your imagination and find the new beliefs. So the new beliefs can be identified through imagination, and your new beliefs can be identified through conversation and connection with others who perhaps have overcome those same limiting beliefs, and they will share with you their beliefs. So thus, it's important then to study, to look at reality as both inspirational and revelational, and that since you are the molder of reality based on how you think and how you interpret it based on beliefs and how you assume it to be, you are also a student of the reality. So I want to share with you this. You might have heard this brought up in some of my previous videos, a very powerful learning model called the format learning model. It's important to reflect upon what we're doing each day as identified, find our limiting beliefs, and then find the sources of information and consume that information, engage in that information, and ensure that it's a diverse array of the same kind of information, multiple authors. And by the way, it doesn't necessarily have to be this way, but you can facilitate it in greater degree of transformation by targeting the same belief from multiple different perspectives. This is how we formed deeply rooted core beliefs and associations all throughout our life. As we go through this journey, we have more and more associations each day. By being conscious about our associations, we can consciously remold to be reflective of our vision more and more so each day. So we want to learn from these perspectives. It's called the format learning model. Why? Start with experiences and reflect upon and ask the question, why is this important? Or how is this related to my vision? From there, you can identify the kind of information, the people, the environments, the circumstances that could teach you the new perspectives and the new beliefs. And you can ask yourself what book to read next, what video to watch next, and so forth. Otherwise, if we don't do this, we might find ourselves overly consuming and being overwhelmed by the large volume of information that is available today. Next is what? Reflective observations, and combine it with abstract conceptualization. So in the context of belief change, we want to look at it as what we're really looking for is, based on the information we are consuming, what beliefs are being shared in this information that we can turn into affirmations, into self-talk, into facilitators of an ideal state of mind. And watch the video I did on ideal states of mind. I'll put a link in the description. And thus will also help us sift and sort through the large volume of information that's available and consume what is related and necessary to our vision. Next is how, as in take the theories and apply them. So this is very important, because in order to change our belief systems or our paradigm, we change it from the perspective of outer world and inner world. You can work with it in your imagination, or you can work with it in environment. Environment being behavioral change, doing things different, behaving different, going to different places, mention masterminds, being around certain environments that facilitate certain states of mind and certain belief systems and certain inspiration. As well as in your imagination, imagining yourself experiencing the end result. Or imagining yourself via the form of affirmation or self-talk, which is taking what you're learning as far as the empowering beliefs from the information you're consuming and turning it into audio affirmations, or reading the same information over and over again, which is why, for me, I've been reading James Allen, As a Man Thinketh, for many years and will continue to do so, because it's the same kind of information meditated upon and then further built upon on so much other information that I've been consuming in relation to that same core information, which brings forth further degree of affirmation on you are blessed to be the molder and student of your own reality. And the final is what if. So I mentioned this, taking it and applying it into different areas of life. In relation to my client, it was value exchange. That was the limiting belief. And we changed it. And to further affirm the value belief, what you would do is you would apply it to family life, friendships, and communication in general. Observe where you're not seeing yourself from a perspective of fair value, as in you have fair value, the other person has fair value, and you're going to exchange the fair value. It's a fair exchange. See where you're not doing that in multiple areas of your life. Now, as we integrate the format learning model, as we integrate these particular questions upon cause and effect reflection of what beliefs show up in the morning, work day, and end of day, and I'm using work day as an example because I speak a lot to entrepreneurs, then what happens is we are repeating the same empowering beliefs from different perspectives, thus changing the paradigm around, changing the belief system around. And we are integrating what James Allen is referring to here. Again, we'll echo this quote. A particular train of thought persisted in, be it good or bad, cannot fail to produce its results in the character and circumstance. A man cannot directly choose his circumstance, but he can choose his thoughts, and so indirectly yet surely shape his circumstances. And what you'll find is as you continue to integrate this, you will be able to choose your circumstance more so. You will be able to see what is going to show up through the chain of events and change accordingly, as well as you'll be able to reinterpret circumstance and see it as in contribution and in harmony with what you desire to create and experience. If you want to copy this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.